Good morning, everybody. What we're going to do today is we're actually officially launching our awards. And the Tourism Awards is quite prestigious. It's over 40 years old now. But we've completely renamed it and we've refocused it to the Giant Spirit Awards. And just to give you a bit of a context, 2 years ago, obviously a lot of you in the room may have applied before. Is there anybody who did or has applied ever for the awards in the past? Show of hands. Yeah, a few. And are there anybody here that is new to tourism and would not have a clue about any of what I'm talking about today? Some people? Good, that's good mix. We can all train each other and learn together. So apologies to those who applied before, because we launched the brand, the Giant Spirit brand, in between October and January, so 2019. And the last session, we were in the Stormont Hotel, and John McGrillen, our chief executive, stood up and said, I don't want to alarm anybody, but there's this virus that thing's just been, announced. And I was really annoyed, because I was like, what is he talking about that for? He's just put he's been on about this giant spirit, and we're all elevated, and the next thing it was down. So the word pandemic wouldn't have been used in his sentence at all. He wouldn't have known anything about that. So those people who applied last time, unfortunately, didn't really get anywhere, because at that stage, everything just shut down, and that was the last of it. So, but obviously we're out with a bang again. And so what I want to do today is just give you a context of the awards, which we have completely realigned. One of the things that we could not do and would not have been right to do was to start asking you about how your revenue had been last year, the last couple of years, what your bed nights had been. I was sort of thinking, this is the way we used to judge things. So the world has completely flipped. And so we're looking through new eyes at the minute. So I just want to take you through, and some of you, again, will not be familiar with the Embrace Giant Spirit brand at all. And rather than talk you through the whole thing, we're going to sort of touch on it today. But really just the spirit of what the awards are about. It's really about a celebration today. So we're going to take away all of those old measures. We might put them back in the future when everything's back on track. So, but this year it's just really about trying to get a big party. And you're all working in the industry, so it's really a celebration, and we want to celebrate all of the good work and all of the resilience that you've shown over the last couple of years. But it is about reward and recognition. So, how do we reward people when traditionally we were looking at their revenue, we were looking at their bed nights, we were looking through different eyes? So we've tried to come up with a completely different way of looking at it at the minute. So it's really looking at the values and behaviours of people that have had to do things completely differently over the last 2 years than they've ever had to do before, think and work in different ways. And I think everybody in the room will probably relate to that in some way. But it's about innovation and it's about improvement. So some people I know I can see around have had to completely close down businesses. They had to go work online differently. They had to remodel their premises and properties. You've all had to do marvellous things. So it's just having a look at that and recognise it. But ultimately, it's about sharing best practice as well. So, I always say it's a corny thing now with parents and children, like, everybody's a winner, nobody loses. But unfortunately, we do have to put somebody up on a stage, and there will be a winner on this occasion right through all of these categories. But we hope we've done it in a fair and it's a very, very transparent way. So what we're trying to do today is completely demystify the process. It's very straightforward. We want to try to we've got new people in the room, but if you know anybody that can't get here, just to say we are recording this, so I have to remember not to swear, but please don't swear, and just to be mindful that if you're interacting, that will be recorded, because we know that people might not come today, but they want to get the information, so that will be on the website shortly. There's a very straightforward way. It's all online this year. As I say, there's one entry form. It's streamlined. Every year we take feedback and we go, how can we be different? How can we do things differently? But this year is very, very different in terms of the way we're judging it. And we're looking at brand values. And one thing I would just say, we're not trying to tell you, nor will we ever try to tell anybody how to behave or what values are. Everybody has their own values, but this is just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page when we're talking about the way we do business in Northern Ireland. So on the journey, to looking at the brand values, I went back and I was going to say dug up an old friend. I don't mean that, Jennifer, but and she had her birthday recently, so I better not refer to that. But Jennifer's been on a journey with us right throughout the brand and looking at the brand, and really helped us when we were setting up, what a good destination is. Jennifer lives in Edinburgh and has lots and lots of experience from Scotland, who you might know have done things in the past like the Pride and Passion, which is very successful in Scotland, bringing everybody together, and it really worked there. So whenever I thought about we were doing this brand, I thought Jennifer's the woman. She's the first person that I thought of. I will not go on in terms of what Jennifer can do, but she's a great listener. She has been talking to some of you. I know some people in the room have already engaged with her, but today is just to try to give a context of what we've been doing in this little journey since we all got locked down, and what we've been trying to take forward since then, so we haven't lost momentum. So I'd like to invite Jennifer up just to take you through the journey.
So, hello everyone. The giant spirit and the brand values and the criteria that Carolyn's been referring to. So, I suppose the first thing is, just to give you a whistle-stop tour into what a brand is actually all about. And with Embrace the Giant Spirit, I'm not going to go into it in any great depth, but it's, what is a brand? It's just a set of ideas. It's expectations that we're inspiring visitors with. If you like, it's a promise. It's what can be expected on a visit to Northern Ireland, and that's whether they're in the city or whether it's in the country or whatever. And so these values are, yes, I suppose it's just the expectation, but of course that's going to live or die when they meet any of us. So we can either uphold it, that promise, or we can let it down. So that's really what we're talking about. It's as simple as that. It's not about a logo particularly. It's just a spirit. It's a way of being. So it's how we do things. Now, we all do it naturally. I mean, there's nothing extra to do. It's just what we do, and it's exemplifying good practice. So if we were looking at what the consumer's seeing, what the visitor's seeing, these would be the sorts of words that were coming out for Embrace the Giant Spirit. Now, you'll all recognise this as being distinctly Northern Irish experience. So, big-hearted, we're kindly. That really kind of relates to our hospitality. We care about people, we're friendly people, that sort of idea. The original part of that, the promise to visitors in all the advertising, etc., is all about the quirkiness. We're just down to earth, authentic, ourselves. Legends and stories. Well, it's about the crack, isn't it? It's the stories that we're telling. But we can go further than that and say it's the stories that join together for people. So it's the hearing our particular legend, and whether it's true or whether it's not true, if it's a good story, it's a good story. And they might see that in another part of their visit. So it's stitching this stuff together so that it gives a bit of a context. And then the land, the beautiful, beautiful country that is Northern Ireland, which is the land, the water and the sea, and everything else that goes with it. So within that, we've been doing some work on looking at how the values of the Embrace the Giant Spirit could relate to benefit us. I mean, what's in it for us? How do we make the most of it? And why does it actually matter? It matters because of this promise. And it really matters whoever you are. And it can be upheld or it can be not upheld at any point of that interaction. And whether you're a kid or whether you're a family group, a business group, it doesn't really matter. We've all, or even ourselves, having our own experiences when we're out and about, we all have expectations of what we would like to have and the way we would like to have it. So it's really about that. That's why it matters. And it's about consistency. So we're looking at this over various different areas. So the criteria that we're talking about is the 5 criteria. So we're thinking about, it's not just about our visitors. If we're thinking about how we live the sorts of things that we believe in and we do good practice, it's also about how we operate in our business, how we operate in our communities, how we operate with our team, and also how we operate with ourselves. How do we look after each other, ourselves? And whether that's about skills development, or whether it's about improving what you do, or it's how you're collaborating within your community. It's about maybe something simple that you've done in your business that's turned the volume up a bit. And through the fact of COVID and lockdown, etc., you've maybe been forced to do something really innovative. That's the sorts of things that we're talking about. In effect, what we're saying, it's the being, what are our values and beliefs of how we do what we do, and what we actually do, what the actions are, what we get up to, what we can tangibly do. And that people will either be, disappointed, neutral, or absolutely delighted with what the impact of all those things together would be. Does that all make sense, or am I talking gobbledygook? Some of you in the room would have joined me a bit on this journey. We've done various workshops where we've been listening, and people have been telling us what they think it actually means. Because, at the end of the day, it is just words on paper, but what did it come from? And it's about a common set of values and a common set of beliefs, and that's what we're trying to recognise within these awards. So, I just thought I'd run through quickly what some of these actually are. The sorts of things, just see what would spring up, because in fact all I'm really giving you here is just a set of ideas, prompts. You'll come up with your own stories, and so all of these could be working across your business or yourself or your team or anything that you might have done, but around these values. So when we're talking about big-hearted, so we've taken 5 values, and let's start with big-hearted. And big-hearted is about service. It's about customer care. You can see there what we were saying. We've got being and doing. So it's about being warm and welcoming, seeing people as individuals, seeing visitors as individuals, and keeping promises. There's various much. You see a lot of this online, so you can refer to it all later. We go into pioneering. The idea of pioneering, one of the brand values for Embrace a Giant Spirit, is about innovation and continuous improvement, doing things a little bit differently. So being open to new ideas, being open to collaborative ideas, working with each other, and it's leadership and development. So looking at familiar things from new angles. The next one is legendary, and legendary is about the stories. It's the content. And the connections, the collaborations, the way that we can sort of create that in authenticity and integrity, whatever stories we're telling for the visitors to absolutely delight them. And it's also encouraging our teams to be telling their own stories and talking about their own passions within what they do, and yourselves, of course, and your own interests, because people just love to hear it. And this next one is elemental. It's a bit of a difficult word, but what we're really talking about is natural, the natural world, about sustainability, the climate emergency, and the balance of environment with tourism and in a sustainable way. So we're all now having to look at it much more carefully about how we're actually going to do this and how we're going to get to net zero, et cetera, et cetera. So this is about inclusivity. It's about really a big nod to anything that falls under that theme. And the final one is about original. This we're saying is about yourself. This is about leadership. It's about being more mindful. It's about how you do what you do. It's taking responsibility, doing the right thing, both for your team and for yourselves. It's being the people that people want to be around, being the place that people want to work. So good practices in that regard. So it's praise, encouragement, how well you do that with your team, how well you've all pulled together as a team through this whole difficult time. There'll be some really simple stories, and all of this, none of it needs to be earth-shatteringly new or different. It could be very heartfelt. And the reason that we've picked all these brand values as to drive the awards is because exactly that. It's just look inward and think, well, what would be really, really heartwarming here of something that we're actually quite proud of. And ask yourself, or ask your teams, etc., what have you been the most proud of in the last 2 years? What is the spirit? What is the spirit that we're actually all getting behind here? What have we done differently? Okay, so everyone clear on what we're actually talking about? It's a bit of a loose canvas. There's no direction here, but this will give you some sort of prompts of what to pick out and to recognise and celebrate this resilience. And I think that's it. And then Carolyn's going to come back and talk a little bit more about the actual categories. So good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Jennifer. As Jennifer says, this is really just about trying to capture what a lot of you have already been doing. And I'm looking around the room and I can see where people can fit in. The good thing is you don't have to just apply for one category. Obviously, there's some things that, like accommodation, that you're not going to try to pretend that you're a self-catering if you're not. But there are things where you can literally slot into different awards. So just to go through, normally I'm not going to tell anybody to turn their phones off because this is all, obviously, the website's live now. So if anybody wants to look on or shortly after, you can see how you can do this quite simply. It's split on the website. So you go into the website and there's basically 4 big boxes. So it couldn't really be any easier. And I'll just walk through that. So there's accommodation, there's experience, which is very broad. There's the Innovation Award, and then there's the individual, which I can go into. This year, what we are looking for is, which I think is really quite exciting, is we are looking for a local spirit. So we're going to engage with a lot of the councils to say, is there somebody in your area that you feel that you want to put up for awards? So it is not a business, it is an individual award. And then our chief executive, he normally announces what would be, the Giant Spirit Award, which is nominated by our senior team, which is usually somebody that used to be the whole Outstanding Contribution Award of old. So if we talk through, hotel, B&B is under the accommodation, the tourism experience, there is a food and drink experience. We felt that was really, really important. So you could apply for being a best accommodation, and you could also apply for either of those if you feel your food is exceptional or you're providing an overall experience. We've also split each into, got a criticism that those awards are only for the big players. They're only for those people like the larger players. So we've split them. Each category where it applies has got 2 awards. So there's under 15 employees and over 15 employees. And if you're sitting just on the 15, I would say go for the smaller one as well. So, but that's trying to create a really even playing field for our businesses who. We always try to judge them fairly, but there was a perception as well that some people were just really good at writing applications, and some people tended to think that there was the larger people had more staff, they could give it to the marketing people who were all whizzes at doing these things, and so we've just tried to create that more even playing field at the moment. Innovative business, I think this potentially could be really exciting because there's people in this room who've had to do things very, very differently. Whether it's sourcing sourcing ingredients, food, or whether it's looking at your staff training, thinking people were furloughed, to train them, all of those things. So there's lots of innovation. Probably the big one is the digital innovation, but this is not just about digital. And I think the 2 words digital innovation go together a lot. And sometimes it's non-digital innovation. So it's what have you done with different areas of your business. So it's not just all about, we switched everything to an app or whatever. It could be different. And innovation is really about just doing things in a different way. So you could be actually doing the same thing that you've always done, but you just did it in a different way. So that's, to me, the definition of innovation. And again, larger and small categories. One that we have put in new this year because we felt it was appropriate given the skills, and I work a lot on skills at the minute, and it is a crisis. I mean, it's getting to the stage where we're all trying to pull together, but it is difficult. So we want to do a bit of recognition. So the student award it has to be somebody who's worked in a work experience or a placement with your organisation. And that again will be an individual award. And as I said, the local spirit award as well could be nominated by, it could be a community award, this one. It's, while we're saying it's tourism, I think if you have, if you're in your area and somebody has been absolutely exceptional and has just kept their spirit up, then, whether it's a lollipop person or whoever it is, somebody that you know in the area that's really just kept things going, then, you know, I mean, sometimes I've heard, like, it could be a childminder who's let you go to work, or somebody in that, you know, whatever, this is just open, it's just about, there's only a limit, it'd be your imagination. And then, as I say, the only one that you can't really get involved in because it is a special award is outstanding contribution, and it's awarded by our chief executive as well. But obviously, we will be, you know, looking out for those across Northern Ireland. So the entry process, just to so you know, is very, very straightforward. There's one form, 2 questions to complete. Again, as I said, 2 categories: small and larger, medium, large company. Because of where we are at the minute, we're not putting any mystery shop into this process this year. I don't think it would be fair, because we are looking at retrospectively, so there's no point really somebody coming and trying to look at an experience that might not be there at the moment. And everybody is rebuilding, so we're giving that grace period. And there will be no presentation, which I know sort of terrified people before. They went, I did this award and then I got shortlisted, and now they're punishing me by making me come in and present it. So it's going to be a straightforward two-stage judging process. And the timeline as well, just to be mindful, because this is important and some people get this wrong, you need to be talking about something in the business or related that's happened between 1st of April, which was kind of just after the lockdown period, and the 31st of May, which is as close to here as we get. So anything that's happened very, very recently shouldn't really be taken into account. So if you're looking at a project, you can talk about it, but we will kind of have a cut-off period of May. Obviously, when we reinstate the awards again next year, you can start talking about that great thing that you've done in the last couple of months. It's free to enter for the awards as well, so there's no cost, and it is, again, all online. So just baby step it through, really, is decide what categories suit you best, if you want to go into a couple of categories. And again, you know, you might think it's a great experience, that's a free-for-all. Everybody in this room has probably given some kind of great experience. And I'm sure lots of you have innovated, you just need to think about how you've innovated. And it's about trying to look back at those criteria and sort of say, well, look, you know, if I'm talking about my project, you know, how was I big-hearted? You know, how was I legendary? You know, have I put in some sustainability element in my project? And just be trying to link that back to the answer. And that means that obviously that's the lens that we're looking through. And so just mindful of the brand values again, which Jennifer's articulated, so I'll not go back through all of that. But you need to look at impact, and a lot of the time we are looking at the impact, you know, what was the outcome? So in the past, and I know there's lovely storytellers in this room, but sometimes my experience is you get a lovely story and you're like doing as Jennifer said, so what, you know, what did you actually achieve? So you still need to be sort of put those eyes on the prize in terms of what that is. It may not be revenue, it may not be talking about filled bedrooms, but it's just what difference did that project or that person make in your business. And they've both got 5 marks, so there's no weighting. It's very simple. So, you know, concentrate on both questions and relate back to yourself, your team, your community, and your business. 500 words. There is a word counter. I think it stops you, unfortunately. So if you're trying to cheat and put another couple of words in, it won't let you. So takes you back to school when you were told to do that. And I think back in the day you could probably cheat a bit, but unfortunately with technology it'll cut out. So I mean, that's not a lot to ask. 500 words is actually, it's nearly harder sometimes to write a shorter answer. So it is very short and succinct. But it is about the impact again. The differences, we've made a couple of differences for the individual awards. So we've telling you to write 1,000 words on how your student has contributed to your business and why, you know, they embrace some of the brand values that we've talked about. And it is 1,000 words. And the local spirit again is 1,000 words, and it's just 1 page to fill in. And I will be engaging with the councils as well individually over the next couple of weeks, just to sort of see if they can help us, because we'd like to get a really good representation right across Northern Ireland, because there are some people who've done exceptional things in this last couple of years, and they need to be recognised. So that is just to be totally transparent, the stage one is scored. There's a chair of the judges, which I happen to be one. I will not take any bribes, not yet anyway. And it's within TNI, there are representation within TNI who will do the first stage judging, and we'll use the scoring criteria. And then it goes to an external panel, and this year we've got our board members. We've got somebody from Ulster University is going to help us do that. We've got our board members, and we've got John Mulgrew from media. So I'm kind of not looking forward to that bit, because that's, and Hilary will know, and Hilary's here, that's when you get all the differences of opinions. And believe me, I know when you're looking at board members, John Mulgrew and the university in a room, I'm not sure how that's going to go down, but we'll see. It might be smooth, we just have to make sure, but it's totally transparent. And there's the worst picture of me I've ever seen. And Orla is going to help me, and Orla is our manager in our corporate comms, Orla Farron. So we're going to kind of try to mediate, and that'll be a full day in our boardroom where we will have all the applications, the shortlisted, and we will try to get down to the final couple of people. So we will have one winner, whether that's a giant spirit or not, but we can't. Otherwise, it will be a party if we just let everybody on the stage, and it'll be a bit mad. It'd be great for ticket sales. We sell a lot of tickets, but we are going to try to create that party atmosphere on the evening of the awards. And we are saying that there will be a scoring. There'll be challenges, but we're hoping that we will get to one winner. But there'll be a runner-up. So just in the scoring, this is getting into the bowels of it now, which is probably getting too much detail, but 5 could be as an evidence exceptionally good. It goes through very good. You've got provided, there's some evidence there, but it's not clear enough. And then there's absolutely no evidence, which is somebody who's just decided to write something that doesn't fit in anywhere, and will get, unfortunately, a big 0. But that's the scoring mechanism, and we've used it before, and it does work quite well. And then just to finalise, really, and I want to have a chat about it, is just what the timeline is. So this is important. You've got you've got to 22nd of June. We're now. We're now launching it today. You've got 27th of July, and that is where it closes. So I take it we're going to do 5 p.m. So close of business. And I know no bribes. We're non-bribes. We do on occasion, if there's technical difficulties, they're your best to contact either Jane or myself, and Jane from Morrow Communications is obviously looking after all of that. So we're not going to say we're not going to listen to people if they've had problems with the website or if things haven't downloaded, but we'll only be reasonable to that to say possibly the Monday. And then we do all the judging. Everybody comes together, and we have our big fights about judging in mid-August. We sit and go, there aren't many applications from this part of the world, and they're that. We'd love to get all councils represented. So that's really exciting for us when we get people shouting about what they're doing from all across Northern Ireland. And then we will announce a shortlist at the end of August. And then we're all together for the big party on the 6th of October in the Sleeve Donner, which are not refurbing at the minute. I'm looking down at Tracy there going, we were terrified that they'd start doing some work, but I know they're planning to do marvellous things, but just not while we're having our party. So we'll get that over with. And that will be ticketed. And there are sponsors. We sponsor that award. We go for sponsorship. So we're still in that period where people are buying your tickets, and we're sponsoring. So that's fun part for Jane, who really supports us on that. So that's us. And I know from listening, there are other awards will start kicking off again. I know that we've been approached to sponsor some other awards. So it's a weird that because of COVID, everything is shipped. Normally we would have done our May ball, and we would have had all of our awards out in our summer finery in June, sort of May, June. But because of COVID, we've all been sort of swept into the winter months. But we thought October would be good before the snow starts falling and it's too close to Christmas and nobody wants to play anymore. So we're always here, between us all. There's always somebody, no question is a stupid question. And I just think it's going to be amazing. And I think everybody in this room should be able to apply because of the criteria. You've all been through, so much, and we just wanted to recognise that and reward that. And John McGrill and I, we presented this concept. John McGrill, our chief executive, said, "Caroline, we're going a bit fluffy. Are we going a bit fluffy here with all these values and everything?" And I said, "Well, John, we have a brand there, and that's what the brand is. It's about the spirit. So I think we should give it a go and see what comes out of it. So hopefully it's broad enough for everybody in the room to recognise either a person or something in their business that they've done that fits into that criteria as well." So Jane, if you want to go through the even more science bit. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. These are a few bullet points in terms of what the entry form looks like, and then if you forgive me, I'll swap over to a live demo. So the entry form, obviously, for us to sort of capture the who's who. The first stage will be your personal details and the business. There's a drop-down question to select if you're up to 15, and I think, Carolyn, it should really be 16 and over. But yeah, just sort of, if you're on that 15 cusp, we may come back to you to clarify in terms of where you would stand the best chance in the categories for the scale of your business. So then the categories that Carolyn went through, it's literally a tick box of all the ones that you wish to be considered for. Obviously, accommodation property, you've accommodation, but as Carolyn said, the best tourism experience or even a food and drink experience, if you're your property, that's a relevant category too. So it's literally a tick box list, and you just go boom, 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 which means then your answer to the main two questions is just a oneer, essentially, and then the panel will review your response in line with what category then you're in the mix for. So it'll be a bit clearer when I run through the live form. As Carolyn said, word limit. I think it's difficult for the judges to have read reams and reams and reams over the years. So I think it really just helps focus the mind on your side, but also then it allows a fair kind of judgment of the detail and the evidence that you're able to put in the response. And it's really just an answer to the question. Let's not get too technical about it. Biggest recommendation is to prepare your response to those questions offline. So a Word document, do kind of a brainstorm flip chart in the office or the canteen and ask your teams, what is your proudest moments? So it's a bit of a kind of scoping exercise, and then come up with a Word document response with your 500 or your 1,000 words. The other bits you'll be able to fill in without having typed those out, but just your main response, type it on a Word document first of all, and then have it ready to copy and paste when you're in the online form. There is no auto-save, but don't worry if you have to go back and repeat. We get all those, and we'll call you or email if there has if there's been a duplicate come through. So that's really what my team in Morrow Communications are there to support, making sure the judging packs are as accurate as possible. So let me just swap across. So yes, the web address is nigiantspiritawards.com, and thankfully the brand has just really brought the awards to life, I think. So well done, brand team, and we want it to be authentic in everything else that Tourism NI have been producing over the past 2 years. So categories here, again, this sort of steps you through the main kind of core categories. So accommodation, it should be people who are registered with the Quality Assurance Scheme in Tourism NI, isn't that right, Carolyn? And for accommodation properties, you need to have been trading for the 12 months prior to 31st of May 2020, and that's always been a stipulation of the accommodation categories. So again, this really just helps you locate which category and then what you're going to be asked to answer. So there we are, hotel, BB guest house, and again the sub-split of the business size. Experience categories, these are NI's best tourism experience and best food and drink. So I'll just read out there. Entries are invited from tourist experiences across Northern Ireland, such as visitor attractions, tours, food and drink providers, and event management businesses. So I suppose if you feel like you're one of those, it's a broad category and broadly welcomed, but also accommodation too. Carolyn, you're not saying no to that.
No, I'm just looking at activities as well.
Activities, I can get that added in. Sure. And then innovation, as Carolyn explained, it's really just what have you done differently, what has really worked in terms of your business or yourselves and your communities, collaboration and things like that. So it's sometimes a bit difficult when there is no script per se, but I think this year of all years is anything goes, and we'd really ask you to don't be afraid to enter something that if you're really proud of it and it's worth telling a story about, then we'll definitely want to read it and consider it. So it is just the one category there under innovation, which is open to everybody. Innovation in its broadest sense, doing something new or working in new collaborative ways. And again, we'll split that into micro, small and medium, large. Individual is what Carolyn, I'm not going to run over that. It's all available on the site. So I'll just skip across to the enter online. There's nice little kind of fancy thing. So this is all mobile compatible as well, but it would be best to kind of upload perhaps from a desktop or a MacBook rather than a mobile. You'll just find it a bit tricky on a mobile device to do that, especially the copy and paste across. So lead contact name, here we go. Well, I do a dummy as we are. So let's see, Jane. And don't worry about uppercase letters and things like that. We'll fix it in the export. So address. This is really, I'm just capturing it at the time because the Local Spirit Award nominees and the shortlist that becomes agreed, that's a category that we will go out to film the shortlisted nominees in Local Spirit, and this is really to make the screen presentation, the experience of the awards interesting and intriguing. So if you're entering someone yourself or an industry nomination and they make it through to the shortlist of Local Spirit, we will go out to film that and have a nice kind of Oscars and the nominees are, and we see it all on screen in a video, and it'll be our team that facilitate that on location. So that would be a lovely thing to see everything happening in moving pictures. So I'll just scan over that. And telephone, these are all mandatory fields just to enable us to contact you. Events at website, again, really just to assist the judging panels to, find out a little bit more if it's not all readily available on the entry form. So, .com, fastest finger first. Short description, again, this won't be scored. It's really just to give that contextual detail. And I think it might be important, Carolyn, that we maybe put the dates perhaps in there. It was a field that I hadn't incorporated. So I think really to allow us to tick the box that what you're describing is in that qualifying period of the 1st April 2020 through till 31st May 22. I think, we just need to have a reference in your response that it's within that period. So just really a general description of who you are. Is it an event? Is it a project? Was it a special campaign or something like that? It won't be scored, but it just helps focus the mind on then what you're describing in the brand value response. So that's the business size. Involving a partnership or on behalf of another organisation. Over the years, there have been joint bids. I remember sort of boat tours, Causeway Lass, that sort of collaborated with maybe 3 or 4 other businesses. So it's just really, again, contextual for us to know who else is likely to have been involved. But you, as the lead person responding, so if it's a yes, it just allows a text box, but if it's no, you just move on to the next. So this is the drop-down section, which, as I've said, is multi-check boxes. So I think you're not likely to tick more than one of the accommodation. Maybe some people will have a self-catering property and BB guest house, Carolyn, but unlikely. Well, actually, hotels, self-catering, anything goes. So you can tick as many of those as you wish to be considered. So tourism experience, best hotel together, and just to allow the form to work. If you're not entering any of those and want to go straight into individual, then you select not entering these categories, and then that means that you don't have the questions to respond. So say you're self-catering, this is the box that then you would copy and paste your response to question 1, which is about what you did to meet the challenges of the past 2 years and those 5 areas. And then question 2 is the impact and the outputs. So it will stop at 500. If you want to see what you've put in, just this little drag button allows you to see all of what you've put in. And then again, if you're entering accommodation experience innovation and an individual, it's a one-step process. So, but you could come back and do it again. Don't be worrying. We'll get all the submissions behind, and we'll keep a master record and be in touch with you. So if it is an individual category, the most promising student, then this question pops up for your response, which is the student 1,000-word nomination, and then because the student work placement has to be nominated by a business, we're just collecting the individual's name that would receive the student award. But then, Caroline, I think we will reward the employer as well within that category. So, but obviously the student in them has done all the hard work too. So that's just really to capture the ins and outs there. Local spirit, similar fashion, just the text box for your main response to the question. And again, the nominee, so the person that's being put forward for local spirit, and then the name of the nominator, and that's the first name, last name, and business. So for instance, if it is Newry Morn, Causeway Coast Council, it doesn't have to come from a council either, Carolyn. I think we're open to any peer nomination or self-nomination too. I know that's maybe a bit difficult to sort of put yourself forward, but be encouraged. If people say you should really go for that, well then do. So there's no limit to the number of entries, I suppose, from one area. For instance, if there's multi-businesses or community champions across the board that have really made a difference for what you're involved in the communities, and then just a tick box for GDPR test. I've selected that one, so it won't let me proceed unless I fill anything in. The red asterisks, it'll always prompt you which ones need entered. But if you have any difficulty, you can just call my team when you're entering. Normally it's a flurry within the 2 days before the final deadline, to be honest. So we'll make sure that we're in and the phones are manned and the email is being monitored. So I just put anything in there at the moment. Submit, there it is, it's gone through. So the red asterisks will just guide you through what should be filled in for whatever categories you've selected. To wrap it up in terms of the nice part as well, so the Sleeved Honoured Hotel is confirmed. Lovely Nora Hannah looks after us down there. We will have a booking link for reserving accommodation, both in Sleep Donard and other nearby local properties, Burrendale and others within the area. So if you are an accommodation property in Newry, Newcastle area, let us know and we can put a link on the site. But as say, Sleep Donard probably £65 is the ticket price. It has been previously more expensive over the heyday years, but we've managed to, I think, we're promising a good night and a good feed and some local entertainment. That's just some of the pictures that we've been over the years in Armagh. 2019 feels like forever ago, to be honest, in the lovely Marquee in the Palace domain. So yeah, that's what we'll be working on over the summer, and we'll release details. And obviously, when the shortlist is announced, then definitely be part of it and come along for the crack, really. And just on behalf of ourselves, very best of luck. Our details are on the website, or you can always reach us through Carolyn and Hillary's team there. So yeah, thank you very much. We're delighted to still be part of it and running the programme on behalf of Tourism NI. So thanks so much for coming, everybody. And we'll open the floor for questions. Just feel free, stick your hand up, ask us anything. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. So yeah, it's all very, very exciting, but you may have questions now and you may not, because until you start into thinking about what your application is, you may not have anything to say. But is anybody sitting there going, I'm not going to bother because I don't think I'll win? No. Good. That's I think this year there are really those parameters that were in previous years have been blown up. So we're just saying it's about survival, it's about being here, it's about sharing stories, stuff you've learnt, things you've done differently, who you've worked with, people who are not even in your business that you want to, pat on the back and say, fantastic job. And yeah, we'll all be there. There's opportunities as well. Contact Jane if you're thinking about, going on the night as well. I mean, you don't have to be nominated to buy a ticket, so anybody can come along. If you just want to party and you think you haven't been out for a while, then we'd love to see you. It's always a good evening. And we haven't talked entertainment yet, but no doubt there'll be some really fantastic entertainment on the evening.